before a couple get married, they might want to have a prenuptial agreement. And you might want to know, why do people want a prenup? What's the point of it? And I suppose it's so that there is a clear agreement at the outset, which the parties have signed, they've agreed, in terms of how the finances are to be resolved in the event the marriage does break down. There are divorce proceedings. But what's really important to know is how the courts treat prenuptial agreements and what's their status. Currently, prenups are not recognised outright by the English family court, so they do not bind an English family court in terms of its content. The English family court can still intervene and have the discretion to uphold parts of it, none of it, or all of it, depending on what the court considers to be fair and how much weight they should hold to the prenup. So what the court will want to do is, if a family court is presented with a prenuptial agreement, they will really kind of like just analyse, what's the characteristics of the prenup, what happened at the time the prenup was entered into, was it fair then, and is it fair now? And the sorts of things the court will want to know is, did the parties enter into the prenup freely? Were they fully aware of the implications of the prenuptial agreement? They will look to and want to know, was there the relevant financial disclosure? Had the parties received the relevant independent legal advice? Because what's really important is to know that when the individuals to the agreement made that important decision to sign up to the prenuptial agreement, did they have before them all the relevant information to make that decision? And often when the court is presented with a prenup, and whether there may be one party that wants it upheld in its entirety, someone might not want it to be upheld, or parts of it not to be upheld, and the court will have to look at various factors depending on what's been asserted by the individual. So they might be looking at other factors. For example, was there duress? Was there any elements of fraud or misrepresentation which could negate any part of the prenup? Also, are there any evidence of undue pressure? Was someone trying to exploit a dominant position? And what you'll often come across is the phrase qualifying agreement, and this is following the Law Commission consultation into prenuptial agreements. And what's really important in terms of this is, and what you will find is, when you phone a solicitor about, initially to make an inquiry about a prenuptial agreement, we want to know, has a date been set for the wedding? Because what's really important is that the couple have time, they have breathing space between the date the prenup is signed and when the marriage actually takes place, so you're not under that pressure. So what we would say is that there should be at least 28 days between the date the prenup is signed and when the wedding takes place. But obviously, if you want to take legal advice, we need far more than 28 days before the wedding takes place, so that you're not under pressure in terms of receiving advice and appreciating the implications of the prenup. So in terms of the court needs to consider, is it unfair to one of the parties or one of the parties to uphold the agreement or not? And they will look to whether it will prejudice the reasonable needs of any children or family, or would it leave a particular spouse in predicament or real need? So really the court has the discretion to intervene, and they will decide whether it's fair, or should they uphold all or parts of the prenup, or none of it at all. So in effect, I suppose the court has like an independent duty to check, the circumstances at the time the prenup was entered into, and the impact it would have if it was implemented in full now, and to what extent it should be converted into a consent order.